I mean, we've already started.
No, you don't.
We're
The thing is like, no. So
Let
a
me
lot
check
of...
if we're recording, though. We recording?
Cover yourself. A lot of times, I don't think you've given me adequate like heads up that we're recording. And the reason that that's a problem is because now people know...
I can't say that you're wrong.
Yeah. There's a lot in our podcast that I have a little bit of a... It's like uncensored. Like, I thought you cut out some of the weird stuff I say, but you don't. Which is fine.
Will any of it get you fired from work?
No, but I think people at my
Cool,
job
man.
who
Then
watch
it's going
this
in the
might
cast.
think I'm a little weird.
People don't come here for F1, okay? Okay?
They come here to figure out what hairstyle I'm doing.
They come here for everything else.
So difficult to figure out your hair when you're sitting on a couch. Maybe we should do this we should do this over there one day.
I was thinking about that.
Wouldn't that be nice? Interesting?
Yeah.
But like change it up a little?
I like our couch because our couch makes sense.
I know, and I can't bring my blanket over to the dining room.
I like sitting on the couch.
Everyone's seen my blankets. I was supposed to get a bunch of new blankets last year, but I didn't get any.
I think originally, if you remember, you don't have to remember, we did them as podcasts. But do you remember we used to actually do it? I think the first few ones we did while we were watching Quali.
Just one.
Remember?
Just one.
Or two, I can't remember. So that's why we ended up, because that's why it's like the camera's there and then the TV's behind it.
Our dog's being weird.
You know?
Yeah, no, I remember that. All right, so welcome to our podcast.
I do the intros.
Cam likes to call this on his Instagram my podcast, like it's his podcast.
That's just context.
I
mean our podcast, but when I'm talking, like it's like when you post it on your personal account, you can say,
I call it
mine.
the podcast. I don't call it my podcast.
I'll say the podcast. I say like my, because I don't want people to think it's like
say
just
our.
Yeah, but it's like, hey everyone, come tune into like our or my podcast. It's the same thing. Something that is ours is mine. Something that is ours is still yours.
Guys, welcome to my podcast.
No, we're together now. If we had like a joint...
Did we stop being together?
If we had like a joint Instagram, such a girl argument right there. You said mine and not ours. Are we still together? What are we, dating or something, dude? Jeez, are we in high school? That's like the equivalent of, you like that girl's picture. Why are you cheating on me?
I've never said that.
But it's like kind of in the same, you know?
It's not in the same vein. Different veins. Different species.
Veins?
Veins. Yeah, it's the vein of thought.
Cool, man. You know, a lot of people, instead of saying veins, they say ballpark.
Yeah. On part of people.
This is what happens when you're just like super, super like book smart, man. Yes. I'm street smart, Priya's book smart. That's how we balance each other out.
I have zero street smart.
This girl can like save your life. I could save your life too, but if we were on the streets. You know what I mean? That's why this works.
Like if you get in a car accident, I could do really good things for you, but Cam could keep you from getting in that car accident in the first place.
I could keep you from getting caught by the police.
And
just kidding.
Welcome to our podcast.
Street smart. Yeah, I was kidding. I could keep you from getting
Priya.
like.
This is Cam.
What is it?
Milo is
in that car accident.
A little he's a little much right now, so we're just gonna not have him on our podcast.
Milo's an interesting caricature.
Quick timeout, and if you don't want to know about our dog for 30 seconds, then you can just fast forward.
You can watch Formula One's podcast.
Our dog got neutered this week, and he's in a cone, and it just stinks because he can't jump on things that he shouldn't.
You have to keep him as least active as possible, and for anyone who has a dog, they need their exercise because they need to let their energy out.
And Milo's a puppy, and I think he's like a different breed of puppy because he's just so energetic.
For him, if you don't exercise your dogs, they will
revolt.
Well, not revolt, but they have all this energy, and they'll use it a lot of times in ways that you don't want them to use it.
It's destructive.
Pro tip for anybody who has a dog who's experiencing them being destructive or chewing things or doing things they're not supposed to. It's usually because they're bored or they haven't gotten enough exercise during the day. So that's why it's important to walk your dogs, give them lots of toys and things to play with so they play and do the things they should do and not the things they shouldn't do.
Awesome. 30 seconds over.
Pro tip.
So we went to Qatar this weekend.
We went to Formula One for Qatar, man.
It was great.
The race was 8 in the morning.
So early.
So
Abu
this is-
Dhabi is at 7 a.m.
So this is coming off Brazil. First of all, how do you want to do this, man? How do you want to talk about this? You want to talk about Brazil a little bit, like the aftermath with all that? Because we did that podcast kind of in the middle of everything going on, right?
That. I mean, like, you said something really interesting during that podcast that it still kind of reigns true.
Which is what?
That he did kind of run Lewis off the track, but it looked worse than it did in the footage we had. Oops. Versus the footage that was released.
It looked worse in the footage that we had. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, in the last podcast, I was kind of going hard on Max, saying that he was, like, he purposely ran him off the track and all this and that. And I think a lot of people were definitely saying that. And they thought that and I think that's just for the same reason. That's why the stewards were like, no investigation necessary. And then also they're like, after we saw like all of the footage from the, like from behind the steering wheel, they're like, we're not going to do anything about it either. So the whole thing with him taking Lewis off the track on the Brazil Grand Prix, like, yeah, initially a lot of people thought that he did it on purpose and they wanted to see the steering wheel footage. And it's crazy because, like, it came out a little later and they, like, released it publicly. And it didn't seem like that was really, like, the case as much. Yeah. Like, what it looked like is he was, like, driving and he saw Lewis coming. And I think he honestly kind of took his eyes off the road a little bit. And didn't navigate the turn correctly. And, like, next thing he knew, he was, like, wide. And Lewis was beside him wide.
Which is just as much of an issue because you really need to, like, keep your eye every single time on, like, what's going on here. Yeah. So I think at this point, one of the things that he needs to do is, like, I think he kind of was just, like, he's like Max, right? He's like, that was fun. Yeah. That was what it was. It wasn't intentional. Yeah. Move on with your case, but obviously, like, no driver is perfect. Like, I'm not sitting here like, Max should have never touched the car of Lewis Hamilton. Like, he should have kept his eyes on the road. Like, all of these things aside, it's just kind of like, yeah, I think Max could do better. But I don't think it was intentional. It looked intentional, though.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're looking at it from the outside, it does look intense. But I mean, at the end of the day, because even like Horner and Toto Wolff are like still debating all this back and forth. They're still arguing about it back and forth.
Christian Horner and Toto Wolff are getting into it. Like, they are, I feel like they're channeling the things that like Lewis and Max cannot say.
Yeah, I mean, that's what your teams are really there for. Yeah. You know?
It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I mean, like, Toto Wolff at the end of Brazil said everything, right? I mean, he was just like, I'll just say this because, like, I remembered it, but, like, Christian Horner got brought into the stewards today, and I just will get into, like, what he said later and why it's kind of ridiculous, but, like, I just feel like the tensions are running high. It's a championship. It's coming down to the wire. There's only a few points separating the top two. Like, there's really, like, nothing is off limits at this point. Yeah. But if you do something blatant, I feel like you're going to get caught. But if you're, like, a little sly, I don't think you're going to get caught. Not saying that Max should do anything not sly, though.
I think for the first time in a long time, there's, like, a lot of competition. And, I mean, even, like, Christian even said this in an interview. Like, Hamilton really hasn't had legit competition in, like, the 7 years. He's kind of been winning by, like, very large margins. Even the races he was winning over the past few years were, like, pretty much a blowout. Like, he would finish races, like, a full, like, I don't even know, like maybe, like, 30, 40 seconds in front of, like, the next guy. So he's, like, Mercedes is being really challenged, and I think that's showing in a lot of different ways, you know, with the teams, with Toto, with, like, everything. Like, emotions are running obviously very high, right? So, and I think the stewards are trying to keep everything kind of like very like, oh, they're like, yeah, Formula One, it's like a very, respectful and this and that.
Gentlemen's
And it's
club.
like, yeah, it's like, but dude, it's like these guys are like, they're competitors, they're competing, like things are going to happen. It is what it is. So,
Yeah, we'll get to the stewards, but all right. So quali Qatar. First of all, haven't raced in Qatar before or in a really long time. Cam was telling me that like only Sergio Perez like did it a very long time ago. So like relatively like a new track. And even during the race, they were saying that even if they were to do Qatar in the years going forward, it would likely not be the same circuit. It would be like downtown, which would be like a street
like a street
race.
circuit, yeah.
That'd be so sick. I really liked the track though. I thought it was really cool. I always love being in the Middle East because I just feel like A, I like night races for them, and B, I just like the track was really cool. But there were a couple of interesting things about the track itself. And one was like the right side is the dirty side.
Yeah. It depends on, I think, which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, because it's a lot of dust, right? And like sand and stuff in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting, and that played a role in the formation lap. But also it was just like a new circuit. So that was kind of interesting. Quali was like kind of heartbreaking for Red Bull fans. So, we did quali on Saturday, and initially it was like all across the board, like who was kind of like in P1, but like the Mercedes was strong. Like the Mercedes was really strong.
They were quick. It had something to do with, I think, just the straight line speed of the Mercedes. And yeah, they were fast. I mean, Red Bull was pretty much just like, yeah, they're quicker. Like there isn't really much we can do about them being quicker.
Yeah.
And yeah, even after everything that happened, Horner was just like, yeah, like let's just hope we can kind of just get the P2 and we'll settle with that.
Minimize damage.
Minimize the damage kind of thing, right? So
the other thing, I mean, that was like, so like you had your usual suspects out in Q1, which was like Mazepin, Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi, Latifi, and Raikkonen. But Q2 was really interesting. Russell, fine, out, but Ricardo, Leclerc, Stroll, and Perez.
yeah.
Like, they just did not have good qualies. Like, it was just, like, the cars were not doing, like, McLaren's did not do well in quali. Like, they did not do well whatsoever. They were really struggling. Leclerc was, like, lost for words on, like, what happened to him. He, like, couldn't understand where he couldn't find speed or where he was losing speed. And then Perez, I mean, I think there was, like, an issue with, like, the traffic that they brought him out in for his quali.
Yeah, that was one thing he said. But even when they were like analyzing his lap, they were showing that he wasn't using the track to like the best of how you could use it. Like you can go kind of outside the lines in certain cases to improve your own racing line. And one of the analysts was saying they were showing it that he wasn't going like as far as he probably could go. Mm-hmm. Like he could have gone further to optimize the racing line, which he wasn't doing. And they're like, if you do that throughout the entire lap, you're going to lose tenths here and there, and then it adds up at the end of it. So I kind of think but like then, and it's ironic because Sergio's the only person who's like driven that track.
Yeah.
Albeit it was like 10 years ago or whatever. But, yeah, he just, I guess being a newer track, like it's harder to,
maneuver. They didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And
but with that said, it's like you still have like Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, like a lot of these skilled drivers still putting up solid times, right?
Yeah, so I guess it was amazing to see like Ocon and Tsunoda and Alonso in like Q1.
Yeah.
Obviously it's no surprise Hamilton took P1 and he was like surprised by the margin that he took P1 from Max. He put up like a 121.9. So did Max, but it was like the gap between him and the rest of the group was pretty extensive. It was like over a second. And then it was Verstappen, Bottas, Gasly, Alonso, Norris, Sainz, Tsunoda, Ocon, Vettel. So like a couple of people you don't really see up there quite often. But the most interesting was Gasly, and this is kind of where all the controversy came in. Gasly had the first of many punctures in quali at the end of quali. So he still qualified in fourth. But there was this, and I remember when we were watching it, I was really confused because I first saw single yellows and then I saw double yellows, and we were just confused as to what was happening.
Yeah.
But apparently, three teams and 3 team members were asked to come into the stewards to talk to them after the race or after the quali. So basically before the race this morning. And so it went something like Sainz, Bottas, and Verstappen.
Yeah. They drove through, was it all of them drove through like double yellow flags?
No, I guess it was I don't know what happened to Sainz, but Bottas drove through reportedly singles, Verstappen through doubles, which is why Verstappen got a higher penalty than Bottas. Yeah. He got 5 grid penalty, and then Bottas got 3.
And then Sainz got nothing.
Yeah,
which is weird.
I don't know what happened with that whatsoever.
I know a lot of people are like just like talking about that, like what exactly, like I don't know why Sainz didn't get any kind of penalty.
Yeah, I don't really get it. And it doesn't, the thing about it that doesn't make a lot of sense is like, so you read something about this. About how Verstappen like didn't see it on his screen. It wasn't like...
Yeah, they were saying something along the lines of like when the double yellows came up, it wasn't like... there wasn't any visual or anything on his steering wheel. Or I think like physical flags that were being waved that he could see at the time.
Yeah.
It was something weird like that. And he got penalized for it. But no, what I also read is they said that he saw that there was a car parked on the side, and they're like, yeah, they are sympathetic that like he wasn't given any kind of signal that there were yellow flags, but they're like, seeing a car on the side parked like that should have alerted him that it was yellow flags.
And his comeback was like, it didn't affect my race. So he's like, it didn't impact me in any way.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I don't know. I think that's the whole reason that yellow flags and like all that stuff across the dashboard like occur, because it's supposed to alert drivers, because drivers are so honed into their safety and their driving. Like,
but the other thing I don't get is like, if we jump into, like this is kind of me jumping around in the race and stuff, there were people with multiple punctures, flying sparks and like debris kind of all over the track. Yeah. Not like, I shouldn't say all over the track, but like, if you have, no, it wasn't all over the track. It was like a little bit. But like, nonetheless, it's like you have cars that are getting punctures during the race and like dragging themselves into the pits, in some cases going around the entire lap, and that doesn't warrant a safety car?
It's like, that doesn't even work. Like, yellow flags,
but a guy pulled over on the side. Like that, I mean, I think even there was a driver who was like stopped. He went over way to the right. They did the virtual safety car later.
Like a half a lap later.
Right? I can't remember who the driver was.
It was Latifi.
Was it Latifi?
Latifi.
Yeah. So he was like on there. They didn't safety car that, and then he pulled over. They didn't safety car that. They only put a safety car when they actually brought the jack out to move the car away.
To clear it.
So it's like, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing, and most recently people have, with this whole incident with Lewis and Max, is they're saying, oh, are the stewards inconsistent? That was the whole question. It's like, are they being inconsistent? I'd say, yeah, they are. As far as I'm concerned, if there's a car that's not in like, I mean, the safety car is for the safety of the rest of the drivers. There's a guy with a flat tire dragging his car all the way in, like
putting sparks everywhere.
Is that or isn't that a safety car? I don't know, right? Because then again, there have been instances where like guys have had that and they have driven into the pits. In Lewis's cases, he punctured like 2 tires, and like finished a whole race that one time too. So it's like, I think there needs to be more clear rules, because like if Latifi was driving, like, okay, yeah, the guy had a puncture and then he pulled the car over, that should be a safety car.
Yeah, there
is a car, like, just stay, like, I don't, if that's a safety car, if that's a reasonable reason to be a safety car during quali, why isn't there a reasonable reason for it to be a safety car during a race?
Yeah, And I wonder if it was just because it was like so close to the end that it was like they couldn't pull us. But it's like regardless, the yellow flags like weren't really, I don't know, it didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All of that aside though, Christian Horner got into a little bit of problem today because apparently he called like one of the marshals like going rogue, and he got called into.
He was like, he's a rogue marshal.
Rogue marshal, yeah, because
Yeah.
he was just frustrated with like the whole penalty and everything, which I think he should be. A lot of the commentators actually were also like, that shouldn't have been a grid penalty.
Yeah.
They were just like very confused about it. So that was kind of the drama of quali. So we ended up finishing Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Gasly, Alonso, Norris, Sainz, Tsunoda, Ocon, Vettel. But with the grid penalties, Verstappen dropped down to, I think it was 7th, and Bottas dropped down to 6th. So it actually lined up so that Gasly was on the front row because he was then considered P2, and then Alonso was P3.
Yeah.
Which was pretty amazing. And it kind of sinks that like the actual race start, like none of those people really got help. Like it pushed Norris up, it pushed Alonso up, like it pushed Gasly up, and like Gasly and Norris had horrible races. Like I think Norris finished just within the points, and I don't know if Gasly finished. I don't think Gasly finished within the points.
Yeah.
Gasly finished in 11th, just outside the points.
Just outside.
You know, Norris had a race that we'll get to too. So we started off Qatar in, I think, a really good open. I think it was a very good start.
Open.
Like,
Start?
sorry.
Like a race start?
Yeah.
Open. Do they use that in any kind of sports?
I don't know.
There was a good open. Yeah, they started. The start was, I guess, no one really went off.
Well,
Didn't Verstappen go off a little bit?
Yeah, he went off a little bit. Well, I guess formation was hilarious because everybody was like leaned up on like the non-dirty side of the road. So like it took Mazepin forever to like even start the formation lap because everyone was queuing up like that.
Usually within the first few turns, you see like some kind of crash or something like that happen, but that didn't really happen. There were a lot of drivers moving around though, which was like absolutely nuts. Yeah, the start was pretty clean. Like Hamilton got away, you know.
Really well.
He got away really well, yeah. Verstappen started making moves like pretty much right away.
He had to if he
Yeah.
was going to get to P2, which is the goal that they had of the day was P2.
Yeah.
And Perez made amazing moves. I mean, he was from I think it was, P11. He started making moves real fast.
Yeah.
But Bottas, who had less of a grid penalty than Verstappen, he was like down in like P like 14 or 15 at one point, or like something stupid. Like he was super low. And like I think it was like lap 5 or 6, like Toto came on and was like, "You need to start racing," or his
He
race
was like,
engineer.
let's get them. He's like, let's get those cars.
Yeah, like
You
now.
know? Yeah.
And then he started like moving up in the field. But like once Verstappen took basically Gasly and Gasly and like Alonso and Norris, like once he got through all of that traffic,
Yeah.
it was just like a waiting game. Like they were predicting a possible virtual safety car or even a safety car, but like Hamilton had like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds on him at one point,
Yeah.
to the point where like
He was driving pretty fast.
he was just putting in lap times.
They just had the speed.
Yeah.
Mercedes just had the speed in this race, and that was kind of all that they could deal with. I mean, even Red Bull tried to respond with the tire strategy, and they didn't have anything because like they tried the undercut, and then Mercedes was like, well, like we'll just we'll just change tires right after them.
React.
And that was kind of it. It was the same gap. So like there was nothing that could really be done, I think, from Red Bull's standpoint. The only thing is they could do really, like they were saying, was like limit the damage, you know, from all the points and everything. So
they pitted Max like kind of early, if you think about it. Like they pitted him for mediums. He was on yellow tires.
Yeah.
To hards like very quickly on lap 18, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I think the hard part was that I think Lewis really didn't want to come in. But it had to be like, it was a reaction. Like they couldn't take the risk.
You can't get greedy with that
Yeah.
stuff, right? It's like, dude, like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to come in, because it's like, we have the lead. If we pit, we'll be okay, right? But I'm sure he was like told after the fact, like, hey, like, it's going to be fine. We have enough gap. We'll get you out, kind of thing. There's always, like, I guess, tensions when it comes to the drivers and what they feel that the best move is. But that's why you have a race engineer, right? To kind of interpret all that for
And like
you.
Lewis even said that after the race, he was kind of like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch the race and kind of like see what was going on behind me," because he was in a lonely place, all in first.
Yeah.
You might be talking to them, but you don't know how the grid is playing out. You don't understand. Like I doubt he knows fully well what was happening with all the punctures, because he even said, he's like, I don't know why everybody's cars were like puncturing. But so basically what ended up happening is like Max pit first, and then Lewis reacted. If you're just talking about the top two. And at one point, Bottas had made it back. Like he had started to put in work. Him and Perez had put in work, and they were both up in the top 5. And I think that it was like, we were all kind of just seeing that, like, it was like, I think it was Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso, Bottas, Perez. And there was like a significant gap between like Bottas and like Alonso and everybody else. Like Alonso literally was 23 seconds or something behind Hamilton. And Bottas's like front left punctured. And he literally had to baby it like all the way back into the pits.
Yeah.
And this is my problem. This is where I feel like this is the conversation that we were trying to have during the race. When is it like unsafe and where you like just stop on the side of the road because you are spraying everybody with
I guess
your
sparks aren't an issue. Debris is, though, right?
I get yes, but okay, so the
sparks and debris are not the same thing.
They're not. They're not.
Because when a car is just normally driving, you see sparks on it, but like
you don't I guess it's like more distracting. Like Alonso was behind Bottas, right? Like it's very distracting. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's not like a danger, I guess. The thing is, though, is like, because that's what I was looking for. I was like, are parts of the tire coming off? Because if parts of the tire are coming off or parts of the bodywork is coming off,
debris.
Then that's a safety car for sure, right? But
so Bottas, like his thing blew up. So basically his race was like kaput after that. I think what they were planning on doing was they were going to pit Bottas, get the puncture changed, which they did. And then if he was able to just stay out and put on softs and steal the fastest lap from Max, they could reduce the Red Bulls from getting that point. But his race ended actually, like, I think 8 to 10 laps before the end of the race. Like he was just done. Like there was too much damage. It was not worth it anymore. So he was brought into the pits for real. And then the next puncture we had, well, so after Bottas, Norris came in real fast. Like maybe 2 laps later, he came in.
Yeah.
He didn't have like a puncture that we saw. Like
they said that there might have been one.
Yeah.
And I think they confirmed it after.
That he was like dropping tire pressure, and like he was doing really well. Like he was up in the top 5, and then of course barely got into the points, right?
Yeah.
It was a horrible thing for him, but it was like either no points or like minimal points. And I think they obviously made the right decision early on so that he didn't suffer the consequences. And then finally, the other person that got, who punctured then? Was it both of the Williams? No, it was just Latifi.
There was another, it was Bottas got a puncture, right?
Bottas, Norris. I think it was just Latifi then.
Yeah.
So I'm getting confused with something else. Latifi went onto the curb and was like, everything was fine. Like we saw the replay and he was like, I didn't even have like a low pressure issue.
Yeah.
And then it just punctured, and he had just missed the pit lane. Like he had been able so that he could just go into the pit lane maybe like seconds before. So he had to take his poor Williams all around the track to get into the pits.
Yeah.
And it was such a mess. And again, could that be a safety issue? I don't know. So he didn't even make it to the pits. He just made it to the side. He pulled up to the side. There's no virtual safety car at this point. There's no safety car. Yellow flags are randomly being thrown, and then it's saying green, hazard is cleared. And then he's parked into this like tiny little area, and before they're going to take him away with like the truck or whatever, that's when the virtual safety car happens, like two laps before the end of the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of finished. So at that point, it was like a standstill for everybody. Lewis couldn't take the fastest lap because Max already had the fastest lap.
Yeah.
Bottas was gone, so it didn't even matter. Perez had no ability to get on Alonso's butt. Alonso never did a two-stop. He literally was a one-stop the entire time. Like, we were all sitting here thinking his tire is going to explode.
Yeah, and that was the way. That's how we captured third place and got podium. But that's like such a risky move, obviously, because everyone's getting punctures around you. But they told him, they're like, we think you're going to be okay to make it to the end of the race.
Yeah.
And made it.
And I think the safety car, like, it helped him because it leveled everybody at that, whatever, those sector times. And then, like, Perez, like, I think it was, like, less than 2 seconds behind him at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I think we stopped the virtual safety car just the last lap. And it was really nice to see, like, Alonso up in third.
Yeah. First podium in a while for him.
Since 2014.
Yeah, man.
It's been 7 years.
It's a nice welcome change, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
There was some good, like, racing, though, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what were some good moments?
Kimmy on...
No, he almost hit him.
I mean, I thought it was interesting.
Who did he almost hit? He almost hit somebody.
One of the Williams. I think it was Latifi.
Yeah.
Somebody on Russell. Who was it on Russell?
I don't know. I care.
There were like both of the Williams were in problems this weekend. Like they were getting like pushed to the side, almost like Latifi and Raikkonen was definitely like a problem.
Perez was doing some impressive driving, wheel to wheel racing
with Ocon.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So like Fernando Alonso was in P3 and he really wanted Ocon to like. So when Ocon got P1, he like very graciously like sacrificed like defending so that he could make sure that Ocon continued to get in P1 as much as he could. So on the radio, he came on and said like, tell Esteban to defend like a lion.
Yeah.
And Esteban, I mean, definitely like, I think put in work for the team. So Perez went to like pass him. Ocon fought back. Perez kept on him, and they were wheel to wheel through I think 2 turns.
Yeah, for a little while.
And then of course, like finally, like Perez got away, but
Perez is so skilled to pull that kind of racing off, though.
It was wild.
I see him do it quite a bit, which is super like intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch race. That's for sure.
It was kind of crazy. I was like impressed. Ocon and Perez used to be teammates back in
Racing Point. Yeah.
Those stupid pink jumpers. I hated those pink jumpers.
The whole color. I don't know why you would paint a car pink. Oh. What a horrible paint job. I was so glad when they were like, Aston Martin's going to take the team over. And I was like, thank God we're going to get rid of that goddamn pink color.
Real colors.
Oh, God.
But it was just really cool to see them go that way. Ocon, I just think, surprised me overall. I was kind of shocked that he could even race like that. What were some other moments? I feel like that was kind of it. Like there was a time at the beginning where Verstappen was caught behind 2 cars. He was in like P4 and it was like Gasly and I think it might have been Norris. So he was behind Gasly and he was like, oh, I'm stuck here.
Oh yeah. And they're like, we wonder if that's kind of a coded message for them to let him pass by. And then coincidentally, I guess Gasly went a little wide through a turn, and Verstappen's like, yeah, I'll just take that. I mean, how would they, if they did communicate that to Gasly, they would have, like, I mean, you would have heard it on the radio. They would have broadcasted it, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's some other shenanigans we got going on.
I don't know. It could have been a code. There could be some things that are not aired. I don't know. I would love to listen to the team radio, but...
Tinfoil hat, that one.
Conspiracy theory. I get it now.
Man.
I got it.
You got it?
Episode 2. I got it.
You got it?
I get it. I learned so much, guys, during this podcast. That was it, though. Hamilton finished off. He didn't have the DHL fastest lap. Verstappen did. And now the championship is just 8 points of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, the race itself, besides all the drama with like penalties and all that kind of stuff, like it was pretty like standard in terms of a race. There weren't any besides like the punctures with the tires, but we kind of knew that was going to happen because these guys were running the tires pretty long. You know, they were pushing them, so it wasn't just like the issues with the safety cars and everything. That was just kind of a weird thing, but other than that, like we had some really good racing. Sick that Alonso got on podium. And yeah, like, I mean, everyone was kind of curious to see what would happen in this race because we have 2 more races left, right?
Yep.
And it's not that much of a difference in terms of championship points.
I actually have it. So
What are we
8
looking
points
at?
between 8 points between Max and Lewis. So Max is on top, and 5 points in the constructors championship. Mercedes is winning by. And the reason that it was like more than that last week, I can't remember obviously what it was, but
Bottas DNF.
because Bottas DNF'd, and
Yeah.
usually he's the bridesmaid and he gets P3.
Yeah, anything can happen, but I don't know. I think we'll see what happens in these last few circuits. I mean, I still got to do some research. I think they were saying, I don't know why I'm hearing conflicting things, but because I swear they said that Red Bull is better in these last set of races than Mercedes, but now they're saying Mercedes has more of an advantage or they're going to be quicker. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I'm like biting my nail. I'm so stressed out for the next race. I'm literally so stressed out. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm kind of sad that it's gonna be done. But
Verstappen and Perez just need to like
make it work.
Yeah, they need to be ahead of Mercedes. I mean, that's kind of common sense, obviously, but it's getting so close that
We literally have
Yeah.
1 week of break. So next weekend is a break. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the U.S. that's celebrating. And then we literally go 2 weeks back to back. Saudi Arabia and then Abu Dhabi.
and then that's it.
And then that's it. And then we're gonna do like a
Sad.
season. No, don't be sad, because then we got Drive to Survive.
Don't be sad.
And then literally we're back.
Should we do a Drive to Survive review?
We should. We
Oh
should
my
do
God,
a Drive
we
to
should do
Survive
this.
review. So we'll do a Drive to Survive. We'll do a like post holiday review after we like hear more about the cars and about like everything. So and then we'll be back.
And then it'll be winter testing starting up right away.
Exactly, winter testing. That's what I was trying to
And
figure
all
out.
the drivers shifting around. George Russell and Mercedes.
We didn't even talk about the new driver for Alfa Romeo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first Chinese
driver in Formula
for
One.
Formula One. And I want to pronounce his name correctly. I think it's Zhu.
He's going to be joining Bottas. And that'll be interesting. I don't know, man. I haven't seen too much on like when rookie drivers come in. Is it normal for them not to perform as well? I mean, he is in an Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, I mean, but Tsunoda did actually pretty decently. He's
Did he though?
He's doing all right.
Did he
I know
though?
he's not. It's Guan Yu Zhao. Guan Yu Zhao. He's the first Chinese F1 driver. He's replacing
Is Zhao his last
Zhao.
name? I'll just call him Zhao.
We're replacing we're replacing Giovinazzi, and people are like all up in arms about that. They're like, oh, money pays, because I guess Zhao's family is very wealthy. Obviously, Mazepin's family is very wealthy, and they're just thinking that
Hey,
money.
newsflash! You're watching a sports that requires a lot of money over
I
here.
know, but then it's like it sucks, right? You
I
know.
don't know why people are pissed. Like, oh, he's got money. It's like it's kind of how Formula One works, man.
I mean, yeah, but for Lewis, I mean, he didn't have a lot of money
He
growing
didn't
up.
have money, but Mercedes has money, and that's why they're like able to develop an amazing car.
Yeah.
It plays a huge role.
But I
like,
mean, like Lewis to get to
you know.
McLaren was a hard road. Not all of the drivers come from. I mean,
what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is that Formula One is a money game.
it's
right?
a
It's a
what
money
is it
sport.
called? It's a something boys club. What
It's
is
a
it?
billionaires.
Billionaire boys club.
Yeah.
Or
It's a money
millionaire boys
sport,
club.
so it shouldn't surprise people if money influences like certain decisions and drivers. That's how this sport works, man.
Yeah.
People are all up in arms. It's like, hey, dude.
So let's just
you
do
don't
the
wanna-
lineup for next
What
year.
do they say? You don't want to see how the sausage is made. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I don't
You know?
ever see how sausage is made.
It's like people
We've
don't want
seen
to
it,
see how
though,
it's
on
made.
Hell's
It is what
Kitchen.
it is. You know? Oh yeah.
Yeah, our Master Chef. So the lineup for next year, and we'll go over this again at the end of the year, is going to be Mercedes, Hamilton, and George Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull is going to be Max and Perez.
Yep.
McLaren's going to be Daniel Ricciardo, who had a horrible, horrible race. We're not even going to talk about that poor honey
Lando
badger.
Norris.
And Lando Norris.
The honey badger.
Sainz and Leclerc for Ferrari.
Yep.
Williams, we're going to go to Albon and Latifi.
Alex Albon and Williams.
Your boy's coming back.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe he's had some time away. Alpine, it's going to be Alonso and Ocon.
Yeah.
Aston Martin is staying the same with
Vettel.
Stroll and Vettel. Alfa Romeo is all new team. We've got
Bottas.
Zhou and Bottas.
Yeah.
And then Haas, who I almost forgot, is going to stay with Mazepin and Mick Schumacher. And hopefully
rude.
their car will be better developed. Because their whole thing was they're going to hire 2 new drivers and...
2022 is going to change, I hope, everything.
I hope so.
You know.
Slowly, it'll start
Yeah.
changing things. And we'll see.
We should definitely do a podcast about like when they start really getting the cars out and
Yeah.
using them and seeing how they perform and stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Winter
because I'm
development.
really into that to see how that's going to affect the new season.
I had one thing actually on a development portion. So Pirelli did release a statement about how they're looking into the tires because so many punctures happened. And so they actually made a comment about like it was a front left in all of the cars. And it's because it takes like the most curb damage. But they said that a lot of cars also, which is something that like I guess you don't think about, have sustained a nice amount of damage enough during this time. Like they've got chassis damage, floor damage, which then if that part is not right, then the tire obviously gets more pressure on it. And that can easily cause a puncture. And then the other thing is that they do like Pirelli does like a prediction for like race stops. So like, is it a 1 stop? Is it a 2 stop? And they said that a lot of the cars were attempting to go further on the Pirelli tires than they really should have been going. So they want to look into everything, but I just thought that was really interesting because I kind of forgot about a lot of the floor damage and stuff like that. And it puts more pressures on the tires.
Yeah.
So that was my little nerd moment. That's all I really looked into.
You're a tire nerd.
Yeah. I need to figure out how to understand that stuff more. I learned about downforce today. And like that's why the sparks come up. I was like, what the hell is wrong with all the
Oh yeah,
cars?
people was like, why are there sparks coming out of the cars? But it's actually because the body work when they're going like incredibly fast, because there's so much downforce, it pushes the cars like obviously down, and the body work can touch like the bottom of the car can touch the ground, which creates the sparks. That's all it is.
That's all you never needed to know. Brought to you by
Yep.
Formula One Podcast. My F1 Life. F1 My Life.
My
podcast.
F1 life. F1 my. Hey man, you know the name of our podcast, dude?
I had this much coffee today. My brain.
I could use more.
I know.
But
So we will see you not next week, but the week after. Hope you guys are enjoying all the little clips that we're putting together.
And so make sure you guys subscribe on Spotify or YouTube. This is a video podcast if you are listening to it on Spotify. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can just listen to us on Spotify if you want. And then also follow us on Instagram at F1 My Life Podcast.
Our podcast.
Where we post, certain clips and stuff from here. So you can check that out too if you want.
Usually you'll see our dog.
What else?
That's it. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a good Thanksgiving. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.